was one of the greatest New Yorkers, a guy named Teddy Roosevelt. And his father, when he was young, said, Teddy, time to create yourself. So I want you to come to the stage, accept this honor, but also give us a little bit of a tidbit of how we can all create ourselves if we're starting from, even if we're not starting from scratch, but starting from this moment right now in this day, just a little tidbit to bless us, inshallah. Bismillah.
Don't stop. Don't stop. Keep it going, please. I need it. Stand up now. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm truly honored. I was telling Jed, one of my best friends that are with me, that from all the great things I've been blessed with in my life, this is my Super Bowl. It was literally being embraced and introduced to our community. I've never had this before, so thank you guys. So I'd like to start with just kind of sharing my background with you guys a little bit, because I think a lot of us can relate, not originally being from here. My family came to America when I was 3 years old as refugees from Afghanistan. So it was very difficult to grow up with a lot of goals and dreams, just because we had no opportunity to be in position for these goals and dreams. There's a lot of self-discovery and a lot of self-figuring out. And as time went on, the outlet I had for this opportunity to realize what I was capable of doing was sports and physical activity, which has been a very big part of my life and kind of created every opportunity I'm involved in today. But as I grew older, I really had to figure out a way on how to articulate this intelligently and be able to attract new communities to this other than just athletes. And growing up, I wanted to be into a space of being able to disrupt and do the not normal, because I didn't have normal people goals and dreams coming up, especially as an Afghan refugee in the Bay Area. If I wanted to play football, I'd get all this, this language and hate from our community of, oh, he's so whitewashed, he's such a white boy and he wants to play football and not soccer. And it was just one of those things I just needed to hear, because again, this helped my mission of disruption. And as things like that moved on, I got involved in ASB. I got involved in everything every non-Afghan and non-Muslim was doing in our community at that time. I had this mission and this goal that I really wanted to help reconcile peace around the world through sports and through physical activity. I do believe it's one of the most defining activities a human can do when it comes to exposing of character. But I just really had to figure out how I'm going to do this and where I'm going to do this. So step one is a mission I had. I wanted to be the first Afghan American to play Division I football. And I got that privilege and that honor by being able to play at Fresno State. And when I got to that situation, I said, well, look, I'm so close to the National Football League, and dreams actually work if you have this intention of wanting to be not normal. And I was in preparation of really wanting to pursue this goal of being in the National Football League. I moved from outside linebacker to fullback, opposite of you, my senior year, and I thought that would be my best chance as an athlete to get into the league. And in that time, I was in preparation and getting all my coaches to support me, help me do something called a pro day, which is something guys who aren't on the radar get an opportunity to do in front of a whole bunch of coaches who come to your campus. And it was around that time I was in preparation for it, and it was February 5th. It was my father's birthday, God bless his soul. And there was this issue going on overseas, and my father had left the country. And the issue was primarily about him really trying to help recover his land and authority and family, etc. And I was at a stage in my life where I was like, oh my God, I'm one step away from this like lifelong dream and lifelong goal. But my father's he's sad and he's alone. So I stepped back, and I think it was the biggest blessing of my life was when I was actually, I had this feeling and this conversation with our Creator about what is my purpose and what got me to where I am today. And at that point, in 2004, I was a Division I football player, so that was my role at that point. And when I got to that stage, I realized what my Super Bowl was, what my championship was. It was actually an opportunity to honor the family name and the legacy that gave me the motivation to get there. So I actually made this decision and decided to not pursue my goals in the National Football League, and the National Football League would find me. I believe it will find me in my path. And I actually packed my bags and went to Afghanistan to surprise my father, to let him know that, look, your oldest son is here. And how that story is funny, okay? So I get to, I randomly just hopped on a plane, I was telling my family, and I got to Dubai. And I called my father from Dubai, and he's like, what is this, Skype? What's this number? I said, no, I'm 3 hours away from you. I'm in Dubai. Meet me at the airport at 10. He broke, super excited, happy. got to Afghanistan, and I actually was extremely emotional for many reasons. One, because I was like, oh my God, what did I do? Like, I'm so close to football, you know, rims, nice cars, money. What did I do? You know, take care of this, take care of that, contribute here, contribute there. And then I actually got to Afghanistan, and I saw the situation of our country. And it wasn't necessarily seeing poverty, right? Obviously, growing up in the States, poverty is a little different, but again, we grew up on government support. We grew up in the projects, we grew up on welfare and housing, and you know, the situation of like seeing poverty didn't break my heart. What broke my heart was the intention I came to Afghanistan with. I went there for a situation where my father was very angry with people, and he was alone, and was just, you know, fighting and mad and threats, etc. And I just said, you know, my neck's this big, I mean, I can come in there, I can do this to you, I can do that to you. I got off the airplane, and I actually broke for the first time I can remember since I was in 3rd grade. I'd never shed a tear. I just really wasn't an emotional dude, and I broke. And my dad's like, what's wrong with you? Everything's going to be fine. You'll be safe. I said, it's not the situation that I'm crying about. I'm disgusted with myself. That I've been blessed with so much, being raised in this amazing country that allows you to have a goal and a dream, and your intentions are what carry you. And I came to this country with this intention where I can contribute so much to the peace and stability of this nation through the power of sport. And within 10 minutes of driving from the Kabul airport to our home, which is, you know, 10 minutes away, I figured out my purpose in this role, and I've stuck to it since. And that whole thing was, as I alluded to earlier, is to figure out sports initiatives to help reconcile peace. And as I got into the neighborhood, I really had to build a cohort and a community for myself. I had to create a safety net. And the cutest thing in the universe was my entire squad were 10-year-olds. And I started with this little group of kids in the neighborhood because I believe that they're the most honest people there. And they're also sponges for direction, for advice, for love, for everything. And it started with this little neighborhood soccer program. And it was really neat, the amount of intelligence I was getting from these kids, because they were so protective of this hour of peace they were getting a day, that they would come to you and go, listen, here's what's going on in our house. Is there any way you can get someone to help stop it? Because I don't want soccer to stop tomorrow. And as this kind of went on, I started to build a role for myself. And I had the intention of being in Afghanistan for about a month and a half, take care of the fight and the job and get back to America. But I actually stayed for 4.5 years. And why I stayed was because the first time in my life I actually felt valuable. And the value came by being accepted, right? Which is something I believe we're all seeking, right? A source of acceptance. And as this process went on with these kids, this program started to take off. Went from a neighborhood program to a city block program to a national program to an Olympic program. And I had the privilege of being able to help reconstruct the entire Olympic organization of that country in the 4 years I was there. And our women's program began. And in 2006, my team and I were the recipients of the Arthur Ashe Award at the ESPYs. And when we got this award, I kind of sat in the back and, hey, you got to go on stage. I said, I don't need to go on stage. The girls that we brought from Afghanistan need to go on stage. I have another mission going on. And what I wanted to see was what the universe's reaction would be to women in Afghanistan playing soccer. And I saw a ton of emotions and a ton of tears because these girls were just so cute, right? They said this like run-on paragraph, right? For like an hour just singing one line. And it was just so awesome to see their English be the way it was and the embracement they got. And I kind of sat back and I said, well, listen, man, if people are so big on this thing, I need to take it to one more level, because I still was having a really hard time attracting us, people like us who want to contribute to that side of the world, to come out there and help because of what they would see in the media, of women being oppressed and people not wanting peace, etc. And I said, this is my opportunity to disrupt. And in 2007, I made the announcement that I wanted to do something that hadn't been done in any Islamic republic. And I created the Afghan Women's Boxing Federation. I didn't create this program to create any UFC world title fights or any WBO champs, anything like that. I built this program because I wanted to prove that in the most male-dominated society, I'm going to impose the most male-dominated activity to change the entire social landscape of this country and bring confidence, or expose confidence of our people to the world. And of course, with the grace of our Creator, it happened. And I was able to get who you think would be my opposition to be my #1 support, which was the Taliban. I went and did something I believe we don't do as humans because we are so scared of being judged and terrified of not being accepted. I had this opportunity to do something, which was communicate. And literally took 15 minutes. And Muhammad Mutawakil at that time put his hand on top of my hand and said to me that, look, you're the angel that's going to save this country. And he said, if I come in your way, or anybody from our regime becomes any sort of disruption in this organization, in this mission that you have, he said, I'll wear lipstick and high heels and run around the national stadium. I said, will you say that on camera? He said, I would. So I recorded him, and I have it. So the cool thing with that whole part, go ahead, give me some more. The cool thing about that part of my life was that I started to really have an understanding of myself. And it just came down to will and conviction and self-belief. And I spent so much of my life putting my destiny in my faith in the hands of everybody else telling me I was good enough. And at that point in my life, I said, no, if I decide that I'm good enough and I accept myself, then just make a decision and it happens. And it did. And from that point on, I said, well, listen, if I can do this in Afghanistan, I can do this anywhere in the world. And at that time, I made my way back to the States, and the NFL found me. And at that time, Tom Cable was the head coach of the Oakland Raiders, knew about my story and what I'd done in Afghanistan. And in parallel to being in Afghanistan, I had to keep myself relevant in professional sports so I can get support. So I was involved and heavily competed in the sport of mixed martial arts, in the cage, and in jiu-jitsu, and etc. And throughout that time, I was funding my own programs by fighting and having some of our sponsors help contribute. So that's how I kept myself relevant in professional sports. And when I came back, I got a crack with the Oakland Raiders to help lead some of the player development. And it was primarily some of the problem childs on the team. And he said, well, what is it that you did in Afghanistan that you convinced the Taliban to support you? And you got women to box, and you did this, and you did that, etc. I said, I came to a realization. So what is it? I said, I see one universal issue that's preventing human maximization. I consistently see this thing goes on in human development and human ideals, which kind of prevents us from having this contentment, and it's actually a universal disease. Whether it be women in Afghanistan, whether it be professional athletes, whether it be really high successful entrepreneurs and CEOs of organizations, what's paralyzing us from our growth is the disease of fear. And I said that this is the only disease we actually need. Right? Fear has always been taught to fight. And I think if you fight fear, it's like cancer, you actually make it spread. And I've made my mission about educating and supporting the ability to embrace fear, because I think that's freedom. And why I utilize physical activity to do so, as I alluded to earlier, I believe it's the only thing that exposes true human character and ability, is the correlation between physical discomfort and mental and emotional discomfort are identical. You understand your bandwidth and your capacity by putting yourself in really uncomfortable situations. But the cool thing is just with breathing, everything becomes comfortable. With believing, everything becomes comfortable. That's where I think the power of faith for myself has been that it's taught me how to believe in myself. So my mission has been primarily around this. It's been around educating self-belief. It's self-acceptance, humility, and obviously self-forgiveness. So anything I can do when it comes to this discomfort that I can do for folks and my teammates, etc., is getting everybody to not seek to others for love, is to love themselves. And that's my story, it's what I do, and I love you guys, so thank you.
I think we can all, right? So if you'll all join me in as rousing and as loving and as giving your heart, your soul, your spirit, just say, we love you, man, we love you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
I don't want to go anywhere.
Okay, good. Wow, that's awesome. That was a little bit special for me too. I played football once upon a time, and I can't tell you how many people would benefit from being exposed to a message that just pulls out the best of you, and to not rely on others really in the same way, but really to rely on yourself and to create yourself. So, alhamdulillah.